She lay wounded in the wreckage. I didn't know she was the most beautiful princess in the galaxy. She lay trapped in the broken ship, half buried under twisted metal and silent lights. The wreck floated slowly, turning end over end in the dark, surrounded by a cloud of glittering debris. Long ago, this place had been marked on star maps as unsafe. Pilots avoided it. Traders changed course weeks in advance. The debris field had a reputation for swallowing ships and giving nothing back. Elias Ward did not believe much in reputations. He guided his small salvage vessel with careful hands, eyes moving between the cracked canopy and the old sensor screen. The ship hummed in a way only human-built craft did, uneven, imperfect, but stubbornly alive. Warning lights blinked, ignored as usual. He had flown worse. The signal was weak, almost gone. Most people would have assumed it was noise or an echo from old wreckage. Elias had almost done the same. Almost. But something about the pattern bothered him. It repeated too cleanly, too patiently. He followed it. The wreck appeared slowly out of the dark, its shape unlike anything Elias had seen before. The hull was smooth, curved like flowing stone, even after it had been torn apart. Strange symbols lined its surface, still glowing faintly as if refusing to die. The ship looked less built and more grown. Not human, Elias muttered to himself. That alone should have been enough reason to turn away. Alien wrecks brought attention, and attention brought problems, but the signal was still there, pulsing like a tired heartbeat. Elias docked. Inside, the ship was quiet, too quiet, no alarms, no emergency lights. Just soft illumination coming from the walls themselves. The air was thin but breathable. Elias moved slowly, boots echoing as he passed shattered consoles and broken crystal-like panels. Then he saw her. She lay near the center of the ship, surrounded by curved restraints that had snapped loose. One side of the hull had collapsed inward, pinning her partially beneath it. Her skin shimmered faintly, pale gold with hints of blue beneath the surface. Long silver hair floated around her face, moving gently in the low gravity. She was breathing. Elias froze. For a moment he simply stared, not because she was alien, not because she was beautiful in a quiet, unreal way, but because she was alive and no one else was here. He rushed forward. Human medical training was basic at best, especially for aliens. Elias relied on instinct. He cleared debris carefully, using tools meant for cutting scrap, not saving lives. He spoke aloud as he worked, more to keep himself calm than for her. "It's okay," he said, though he did not know if she could hear. "I've got you, you're not alone." Her eyes fluttered open briefly. Large, dark, and sharp with intelligence, they focused on him, confusion flashing across her face, followed by something else. Surprise. She tried to speak. No sound came out. "Easy," Elias said. "Don't move." He stabilized her as best he could and carried her back to his ship. The moment she crossed the airlock, his systems reacted. Scanners failed. Translation software glitched. His ship did not understand her, and that seemed to annoy it. Still, the ship adapted. It always did. Hours passed. When she woke again, she was lying on the narrow medical bed, wrapped in thermal blankets. Elias sat nearby, drinking rehydrated coffee and watching the monitors. She sat up slowly. They stared at each other, neither spoke. Finally, she broke the silence. Her voice was soft, careful, as if testing the air. "You are human," Elias blinked. "Yeah, that's usually how people describe me." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "You rescued me." "I found you," he said. "Rescue came after." She studied him openly now, her gaze moving over his worn flight suit, the patched seams, the scratched metal walls of the ship. "This vessel," she said slowly, "it is inefficient." Elias laughed despite himself. "That's one way to put it." She swung her legs over the side of the bed, unsteady but determined. Elias stood ready to help, but she waved him off. "I am Aurelia," she said. "I owe you my life." "Elias," he replied, "and you don't owe me anything." That surprised her. Over the next few days, Aurelia healed faster than Elias expected. Her biology was different but strong. She asked many questions about Earth, about humans, about why Elias worked alone without a corporate fleet or government protection. He answered honestly. "We don't like being told where we can go," he said at one point, "and we don't wait for permission to help someone." That answer stayed with her. She never spoke of her past, never explained why her ship had been alone or why it had been destroyed. Elias did not press her. He had learned long ago that people shared when they were ready. Still, something felt wrong. His sensors picked up long-range distortions, ships moving carefully, quietly, watching. One evening, as the stars slid past the viewport, Aurelia stood beside him. They are looking for me, she said. Elias did not pretend to be surprised. Friends, she shook her head. No. Enemies? Worse, she replied. They believe they own the future. Elias leaned back in his chair. That usually doesn't end well. She turned to him fully then. If they find me with you, your people will be noticed, studied, categorized. Already are, Elias said. We're not exactly subtle. Her lips curved slightly, a small smile. No, you are not. The ship's alarms suddenly chimed. Proximity alert, multiple contacts. Aurelia looked at the screen, then at Elias. You should leave me, she said quietly. Elias stared at the growing symbols on the display, then he shut the alarm off. No, he said. Outside, sleek shapes emerged from the darkness, vast and controlled. Aurelia closed her eyes. They have found us, she whispered. And Elias realized that the simple rescue he had chosen had just placed humanity on the edge of something much larger than salvage. The ships did not attack. They simply waited. Elias watched them from the pilot's chair, hands resting lightly on the controls. The alien vessels were massive, smooth, and silent. They formed a wide arc around his smaller ship, leaving just enough space to escape if he dared. That space felt intentional, like a test. Aurelia stood behind him, one hand gripping the back of the chair. They will not fire, she said. Not yet. Good, Elias replied. I'm not in the mood for running. She looked at him sharply. You cannot outrun them. I know, he said, but I can talk. That earned him a look of pure disbelief. Before Aurelia could argue, a signal request appeared on the screen. No encryption, no threat, just a request. Elias accepted. The image that appeared was not a face but a symbol, then another. Then a voice spoke, calm and perfectly clear. Human vessel, it said. You are in possession of Imperial property. Return her and you will be compensated. Aurelia stiffened. Elias frowned. Property? She is designated as such under Imperial law, the voice continued. Her presence among your species is an unacceptable variable. Elias leaned forward. Funny thing about humans, he said. We don't usually return people when someone calls them property. There was a pause, a long one. You misunderstand, the voice replied. She is not a person in the way you define it. She is an asset, a symbol, a necessary component of galactic stability. Aurelia stepped into view of the camera. I am alive, she said calmly. I think, I choose, I refuse. Another pause. This one felt heavier. Aurelia, the voice said, now colder, you endanger everything. I endanger your control, she answered. There is a difference. Elias glanced at her, then back at the screen. Look, he said, no one here is interested in starting a war. But you don't get to decide the future of my species or hers. The voice changed, softer, almost kind. Human, it said, your people are young, fragile, you survive because you are ignored. Do not mistake that for strength. Elias smiled slightly. We've been ignored before. The signal ended. The ships remained. Elias did not move. Hours passed. Then days. The fleet followed at a distance as Elias set course for human space. No weapons powered up. No threats made, just silent pressure. Aurelia watched the stars go by, her expression distant. They expected fear, she said quietly. Compliance, gratitude. What did you expect from us? Elias asked. She considered the question. Uncertainty, she admitted. Humans are unpredictable. That makes you dangerous. Elias laughed softly. Tell that to our politicians. When they crossed into human-controlled space, something unexpected happened. Nothing, no alarms, no sudden attacks, just a growing number of human ships joining Elias' course. Cargo haulers, research vessels, patrol craft, none armed heavily, none retreating. Humanity noticed. Aurelia stared at the expanding fleet in silence. They came, she said. Yeah, Elias replied. We tend to do that. A message broadcast from Earth went out, open and unfiltered. No demands, no threats, just questions. Who are you? Why are you here? Why do you claim ownership of a living being? The Imperial fleet responded with polished statements about order, protection, and unity, about how smaller species benefited from guidance, about how freedom was inefficient. Humans responded with history. They spoke of empires that promised safety and delivered silence, of rulers who claimed to know what was best, of the cost of comfort without choice. Aurelia listened as human voices filled the channel. Scientists, farmers, soldiers, artists, none spoke with fear. Some spoke with anger, others with humor, most with quiet certainty. We choose our own mistakes, one voice said. That's the price of being human. The Imperial fleet hesitated. That hesitation spread. Aurelia stepped forward and requested access to the broadcast. The Imperial commanders tried to block it. They failed. She appeared across every channel, every screen, her image clear and unmistakable. "I am Orlia," she said, "heir to an empire that claims peace through control." The galaxy listened. "I was raised to believe that freedom must be managed. That choice creates chaos. That strength comes from obedience." She paused. "I was wrong." The silence that followed was absolute. "I was saved by a human who expected nothing in return, not loyalty, not gratitude. Not silence." She looked directly into the camera. "I renounce my claim. I will not rule. I will not be used." Shock rippled through the Imperial fleet. Protocols failed. Authority fractured. "You cannot do this," a voice shouted. "You are the keystone," Aurelia nodded. "Then let the structure fall." The Imperial ships began to withdraw, not all at once, not cleanly. Some lingered uncertain, others vanished into hyperspace, their mission broken. No shots were fired. Days later, Elia stood on a quiet observation deck above Earth. Aurelia stood beside him wearing simple clothing, her royal symbols gone. "What will you do now?" Elias asked. She smiled, a real smile. "Learn," she said. "Live, help if I can," he nodded. "Sounds human enough." Below them, ships moved freely, no Empire banners. No chains disguised as promises. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. It had done something far more unsettling. It had refused to be owned. The galaxy did not change all at once. It shifted slowly, like a great body waking from a long sleep. News of Aurelia's choice spread far beyond human space. Not through official channels at first, but through quiet sharing. Traders talked. Pilots whispered. Data packets moved hand to hand, copied and recopied. A princess who refused a throne, an empire that hesitated. Humans who did not ask for permission. Elias returned to salvage work for a time. That was where he felt most comfortable. Out in the dark, alone with broken things and the simple task of making them useful again. Aurelia stayed with him, not as a guest, not as a symbol, but as a learner. She asked endless questions. Why humans patched ships instead of replacing them. Why they argued openly with their leaders. Why they laughed in moments when logic said they should be afraid. Elias answered when he could. "Because nothing is perfect," he said once as they worked side by side repairing a damaged sensor array. "And pretending it is only makes it worse." She thought about that for a long time. Some species reached out to Aurelia in secret. Not to demand her return, but to ask what it felt like to choose. They had lived under agreements they never signed, under protection they never requested. The Empire had always said it was for their own good. Now doubt existed. The Empire itself did not fall. It changed. Slowly, painfully, without ceremony, systems began requesting autonomy reviews. Councils demanded transparency. The idea of ownership over living beings became something debated instead of assumed. Humans were blamed. Humans were thanked. Humans mostly ignored both and continued being human. Aurelia learned to walk through human cities without drawing stares. She learned to eat human food, though she never liked coffee. She learned that humans argued loudly and forgave slowly, but when they accepted someone, they did so fully. She also learned that freedom was heavy. One evening, she stood on a balcony overlooking Earth's lights, her expression troubled. "I thought choice would feel lighter," she said. Elias leaned against the railing beside her. "It doesn't," he replied. "It just feels honest." That answer did not comfort her, but it felt true. Months passed. Aurelia was invited to speak, not as a princess, but as a witness. She spoke at universities, at open forums, at small gatherings where people simply wanted to hear her voice. She did not tell them what to do. She told them what she had seen. An empire that feared chaos more than injustice. A galaxy trained to accept comfort over dignity. A single human who chose compassion without reward. Elias never attended those talks. He stayed in the back or not at all. Attention made him uncomfortable. "You changed history," she told him once. He shook his head. "I fixed a broken ship and picked up a stranger," she smiled. Sometimes that is enough. Not everyone welcomed the change. Some species feared what freedom would bring. Without guidance, mistakes would be made. Some blamed Aurelia for instability. Others blamed humans for spreading dangerous ideas. A small group attempted to isolate Earth economically. Trade slowed. Pressure built. Humans adapted. They always did. They found new partners, built better systems, shared openly instead of hoarding leverage. They did not threaten. They did not beg. The pressure eased. One day, a message arrived for Aurelia. It was not from the Empire. It was from a world on its edge, a place that had quietly governed itself for generations while pretending to obey. "We want to choose," the message said, "but we don't know how." Aurelia stared at the words for a long time. Elias watched her. "You don't have to answer," he said. She nodded. "I know." She answered anyway. She did not give instructions. She asked questions. She told them they would fail sometimes. That freedom did not guarantee safety. Only responsibility. The reply came weeks later. "Thank you," it said. "We will try." That was when Aurelia understood her place in the galaxy, not above it, not ruling it, walking beside it. Years later, the story of the wreckage became something else, a legend. Told differently depending on who spoke it. Some said it was destiny, others said it was chance. Elias knew better. It was a choice. He and Aurelia stood once more among the stars aboard his old salvage ship, now upgraded but still imperfect. The ship hummed, stubborn as ever. "Do you regret it?" she asked quietly. "Leaving everything behind?" He considered the question. "No," he said. "Do you?" She looked out at the dark, filled with endless points of light. "No," she said. "I finally know who I am." The ship drifted forward, small and unremarkable against the vastness. And the galaxy watched, not with fear but with curiosity. Humanity did not rule the stars. It simply reminded them that no one ever truly had. Time moved forward as it always did, but the galaxy felt different now. Not louder, not brighter, just more awake. Elias' salvage ship traveled along old routes that few bothered to use anymore. Where once there had been fear and silence, there was now movement. Small ships, independent ships, vessels built by species that had never owned their own sky before. Aurelia watched them pass through the viewport, her expression thoughtful. "They are learning," she said softly. Elias nodded. "So are we." They did not stay in one place for long. That had never been Elias' way. But now their wandering had purpose beyond scrap and repair. When a station sent a request for help, technical, logistical, or simply advice, they answered if they could. Not as leaders, not as heroes, as equals. Some worlds welcomed them warmly, others were cautious. A few were openly hostile, still loyal to old systems that promised safety through control. Elias accepted all reactions without anger. Change always scared someone. On one distant station, built from layers of old hulls and mismatched technology, a group of young engineers gathered around Aurelia. Their species had once been classified as guided. They had never been allowed to design their own ships. "Is it really possible?" one asked. "To live without permission?" Aurelia met their eyes. "Yes," she said, "but it will be difficult. You will make mistakes." The engineers exchanged nervous looks. "That is part of it," she added gently. Later, Elias found her alone, staring at a half-built engine core. "You're carrying a lot," he said. She smiled faintly. "So are you," he shrugged. "I carry broken machines, you carry hope. Seems unfair." She shook her head. "Hope is lighter when shared." The Empire still existed, but it was quieter now, less certain of itself. Councils debated openly. Regions demanded representation. The word property faded from legal texts, replaced by long arguments about rights and consent. Not everyone was pleased. A delegation arrived one cycle without warning. Their ship bore imperial markings, though dulled with age. They requested a meeting. Elias almost declined. Almost. They met in a neutral port, a place where no one held authority by default. The delegates were calm, controlled, and tired. "You have caused instability," their lead speaker said to Aurelia. There was no anger in the voice, only exhaustion. "I revealed truth," Aurelia replied. "What followed was choice." The delegate studied her. "Choice is inefficient." Elias leaned back in his chair. "So is pretending nothing's wrong." Silence followed. Finally, the delegate bowed their head slightly. "We do not know how to rule without chains," they admitted. Aurelia's voice softened. "Then learn to govern without them." The meeting ended without agreement. But it ended without threats, too. That mattered. As years passed, Elias aged. Slowly, quietly, his hands grew stiffer. His reflexes dulled just enough for him to notice. The ship adapted around him, adjusting controls, compensating without being asked. Aurelia did not age the same way. Her people lived longer. But she changed in other ways. Her movements became more relaxed, her laughter more frequent, her silences deeper. One day, Elias collapsed while working in the engine bay, nothing dramatic. Just his body reminding him of limits. Aurelia sat beside him in the med bay, holding his hand in a way she once would have found strange. "You should stop traveling," she said. He smiled weakly. "You first." She did not smile back. Eventually, they settled on Earth. Not in a city, somewhere quieter, somewhere imperfect. Elias taught young pilots. Aurelia worked with interstellar councils, not as a ruler, but as a voice that reminded them of consequences. Students often asked Elias about the moment he found her. "Did you know who she was?" they asked. "No," he answered every time, and that's why it mattered. On clear nights, they sat outside and watched the stars. Ships moved between them like slow thoughts. "Do you think it will last?" Aurelia asked once. "Freedom," Elias said. "No." "Not perfectly," she frowned. "It has to be chosen every day," he continued. "That's the hard part," she nodded. "I am glad I chose it." When Elias died, it was quietly, no fleets, no speeches. Just a man who had lived honestly, leaving behind a ship that still hummed like it always had. The galaxy noticed. Messages arrived from worlds he had never visited, from people he had never met. They spoke of choices made because of a story they had heard. A human who did not look away. Aurelia stood beneath the stars alone for the first time in many years. She did not cry. She smiled. The galaxy continued forward, messy, uncertain, alive, and somewhere in its vastness the idea remained: no one needs permission to be free.